Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the illustriously named Dark Occulted Mysticism show with Vinny Eastwood and Frater. It's a weekly 1 hour where we talk about things related to the occult in order to demystify and, in essence, de-occult the occult by talking amongst ourselves, sharing ideas with friends and confidant who revolve in these particular circles, so we can take away some of that mystery and replace it with some knowledge, which is very empowering. Today we have Freeman joining us live via video link. How are you today, Freeman?
Doing well. Hanging out in sunny Southern California. It's about 110 degrees, and they're about to have a zombie apocalypse military training drill.
Sounds like the perfect time to whip up a Mai Tai.
Absolutely.
I understand it never rains in Southern California.
You know what's really curious is I've been trying to think, okay, we've been on the road since October 18th, so almost exactly a year. Actually, when our Kickstarter ends is the exact year, the exact day. And really, I don't remember seeing rain much at all. I was trying to recall, and I remembered a little bit in Pennsylvania, but, you know, we've made a sacred spiral around the entire United States, and the weather's been very just mild. It's been mild for us. It's in a weird way. I'm trying to say that while everybody else was in a heat wave, we managed to find the cold pockets, and we were constantly in coats and long johns. And it was 110 degrees down here. We're in San Francisco. I mean, that's only 100 or so miles away, and freezing. I mean, freezing cold. Like, it's been really a strange year.
And I think everybody's been noticing that about this year, 2012, regardless of whether or not there's anything to the prophecy, this year is amazing already.
I do think that the weirdest thing for 2012. I just want to throw that in.
Well,
it's definitely the weirdest thing going on in 2012, man. That's all I'm saying. You go check it out for yourself if you don't believe it.
Yeah. I'm gonna go check out Freeman's Weird Thing. That would be a great show, wouldn't it? Freeman's Weird Thing.
Hey, the Weird Stuff magazine is where it's at for all the high strangeness. Check the chronicles of the Weird Stuff magazine. That Kickstarter's great. Freeman, you're doing a bang-up job over there. You're really hitting the mark. And there's nothing really of any higher strangeness than weather, I believe, all around. You guys are commenting on weather. And it is...
Chemtrails behind me.
Yeah. I did...
There was an old saying, Frater, what was it about? Everybody's talking about the weather, when's somebody going to do something about it? And it turns out that we live in the age where they are doing something about it.
Oh, I know. I never, if I had ever known, you know, growing up, the realizations about weather manipulation, I mean, it changes everything. And when you think about the different events... actually, I worked with a guy who worked for the government for Army Corps of Engineers, and his job was he built and maintained earthquake machines. Okay? 20 feet by 10 feet. They put them in the ground in the desert, and they would supposedly just for testing earthquake-proof buildings. But I asked him, I said, and he talked about having, you know, transistors that were the size of people, as tall as 6 feet long, you know, that they had to replace these, you know, tube transistors, like the old-fashioned tubes. And basically it was like a giant relay box, I guess, that would reverberate to the point of causing earthquake-like effects. I said, well, what if you built one that was like 50 by 40 and put it at the bottom of the ocean, for example, and activated it? And he said, well, you know, the electronics are not waterproof. And I said, yeah, well, let's say you solved all those problems, you know, logistically. That, you know, he's like, well, you could knock out the bottom of the ocean, I guess, if you really, you know. I said, that's interesting, you know. I'm just speculating here, but you know, all the events in the recent history, Katrina, the tsunami, I mean, Indonesia, the things that have happened. What about the earthquake in Iran, that city, Bam? bam, right? It was made out of clay. It shattered in an earthquake. The entire city did. There was like all these people died, in Iran. That was
when the USA Today reported Milosevic accuses U.S. of using HARP technologies to cause earthquakes and floods in the Middle East. That was on the front page of the newspaper, and I remember showing that to a college student because I was at Kansas University, and I'm like, look at this, this is what I'm talking about. This is 1999, everybody's like, what? and they're like, oh, well, he would just say that. He's just saying things.
Oh, yeah. No greater debunker than a university student, right?
That's right. Oh, God.
I mean, the best debunking they can do is fart when they're in their bunk beds and make one of them get out.
No, you're a riot. I have flummoxed many other university student, my friends, like the 8th grade graduation test. I think I brought that up with a couple of you. Maybe I brought it with both of you. The one that's from Salina, Kansas, 1896. Did we talk about this, Vinny? There's a 8th grade graduation test, and all the
oh
questions,
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
the questions
God.
on weather patterns and like tidal. I mean, it's amazing level of acumen on this 8th grade graduation test from Salinas, Kansas, 1894. And I gave it to a bunch of graduate students at KU, and they didn't even respond to the email after I sent it to them.
Oh,
they were that.
I barely responded, other than saying, dunno, just going down this whole list of things that apparently children knew that are news to me.
Well, that just brings us back around to the conversation we were having before we pushed the record on this podcast. When we were talking about the show you just had on the Vinny Eastwood show, which broadcasts on American Freedom Radio Monday through Friday, right? 5 p.m. or no, 6 p.m. No, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, correct?
Yeah, till 7.
Yeah. So that was an excellent show you said with Jan Irvin, but you guys were talking about critical thinking and talking about the trivium, talking about how you recognize in the deficiencies in yourself. That's what brought me into Freemasonry, I'll be honest, was the realization that I lacked these core essential critical thinking tools and systems of knowledge I knew had been repressed or shut down within my own consciousness. They were lacking. I knew that they existed, and I didn't know about them or understand them, and I wanted to. And that was part of the drive, the Grail quest, as I refer to it.
Oh, here's the thing, and maybe Freeman, you can probably expand on this. When you're trying to improve yourself, often it's about trying to associate with people who you believe are already better than you and taking their advice, following partly their lead, but you're incorporating what they're giving you into your own self rather than allowing them to lead you around.
Sure. And I think that's we imprint, we deal with that in a learning process with individuals. You could call it the Zen samurai master pupil, or the whatever you want to do, the apprenticeship program of the glass blower, or however you want to play it. There's always the exchange from the elder generation to the younger and all that, and this is why when what we have in modern Freemasonry, for example, is a real problem with the membership, because the new brothers coming in, they're running into this stone wall of ignorance because the guys sitting in the lodges for the last 10, 20, 30 years have no clue about the meaning of the symbolism. The lost symbol of Dan Brown, that book is, they pounced right on that. I know so many brothers that were like 20, 30 something year Scottish Rite Freemasons that jumped on that book and read it. Look, they were hoping that Dan Brown was going to solve the mystery for them. They knew they don't know the answer.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No.
I do want to say that we did see Dan Brown on every shelf of the Masonic lodges we visited. I mean, from the Supreme Council of the 33rd, on their personal shelves, and then also most often in the gift shop, too. You could get Dan Brown.
I do love that. And here's another thing that I'm not 100% sure about the occult. It's supposed to be a cult-like secret, and yet they put these symbols and little things around all over the place in plain view. What's that about?
Well, that's part of, I think, the whole the divergence of intent within the system that occurred long ago. You're seeing the evidence of that. What Freeman has done for the last, almost, well, we're working towards a decade now, right, buddy? I mean, what Freeman basically has done has mapped out a pattern, almost like a playbook or a schematic of an expression of this material, which they know will attract attention. They know it will have effect on consciousness. Now, their intentions are far divergent from those more altruistic or egalitarian that would just be wanting to assist people in their own full self-realization, like through the ways of liberation found in Taoism or Zen Buddhism or other Eastern mysticisms. I mean, that's what really is at the core of the Western occult system, is what is basically kind of like an Eastern school, but in Western form, is what I would say, because you're dealing with that same abstract symbolism that's not something you can think your way through on a very deep and mystical level, but there is an obvious outside teaching that can be drawn from, But, not to make it all about Freemasonry, this show, to keep it on the idea of the trivium and the idea of the loss of critical thinking. Look at, right now what's going on, guys. We have the debate going on, this quasi-debate in America. Right now, you can go to YouTube and watch it right there for free, live and direct. And, it's such a farce. Because the lack of critical thinking in the population of America is one in which they don't even recognize the issues that are being debated. Oh, what are they going to talk about tonight? Domestic policy is what they're supposed to be talking about tonight. Yeah, you know what that means, right, guys? It's just the same thing as you're very familiar with this, Vinny. Here's the playbook: austerity measures and raise taxes. Does that sound familiar?
It sounds like scissors.
Yeah. We're going to privatize all the social services and basically shrink them down to nothing and take all the assets, okay? That's what we're talking about here. It's a vulture capitalism on a public sector level, but what do? They have this argument that Joseph Atwill calls slave issues, right? The issues of abortion and gay rights and all this stuff and gay marriage. But the real important issues, like foreign policy, military policy, those issues, both candidates share equally. I mean, they have the same exact policy there. And the issue of economics, like the idea of the Federal Reserve banking system controlling our currency production and creating these little debt bills that we use, they have the exact same policy right there, shared by both major candidates, right? Those are the real issues. We don't get to talk about those. Nobody talks about that. Where's the critical thinking there? Where's the trivium there, guys?
It seems to have disappeared off the face of the earth, and deliberately so. Like the dumbing down of America, and all the foods and everything that we eat, and the education system. It's as if somebody knows what the trivium is, and they know how powerful knowing fact from fiction and being able to discern the difference can really be. And more to the point, if you know the trivium, it's incredibly difficult to control you or manipulate you conversely, because of that ability to see the who, the what, the where, the when, the how, and saving the why for last. Because you can't picture what somebody else's intention is without those supporting branches of information.
Okay, I have to throw this in there too, though, just to qualify this as the complete opposite of what you say. Like the shamans of the Mesoamericans and all that, none of them know the quadrivium and the trivium and all that, but they still have the same exact discernment as one arrives to through the quadrivium and the trivium. And they still have the ability to solve all of the great questions and problems. And I mean, you see my point? Like, Jeremy Narby there and the DMT spirit molecule, and the idea of like the shamans being able to learn how to make curare, by going on an entheogenic journey and having the information be communicated to them through their DNA. You know, I mean, there's no quadrivium and trivium there, really. You can't prove that happened.
It's ironic that you should say that, because Jan, who promotes the trivium, also wrote books about those very processes and uses the trivium to actually explain how they happen. And,
yeah, I know.
Yeah. So you know, it's the thing. Using the trivium works in every case. Even the unexplained becomes explained. The ununderstandable becomes understandable. That kind of thing. That's the beauty of it, is that the tool works regardless of what sector you seem to be looking at. It almost provides a base tools. However, it makes allowances for many other things and the opening up of the mind. Because if the answers to any of these questions are, I don't know, then you've got more evidence to sift through, you know. What do you think about this?
What do you say? Yeah, Freeman, let's hear your point of view on this, buddy.
First and foremost, I would feel that the age segregation has been a big issue, and the fact of separating all the children into the sections of age and grade, and then as you reach the top of this grade, you knock down to the bottom again as you enter junior high. The fact that all of our old people are shuttled off to here, and we don't have to look at them, and they don't want to look at us. I mean, and neighbors have been the biggest pain in my ass from the moment we started this bus trip. We have been nothing but, blemished by neighbors. It's just, it's so crazy, because that division in the society is the tribe that has been eliminated through the rhetoric that they call change and prosper, and we're moving forward, and what does this all mean? Nothing at all. And of course, I look at the world much stranger than all of that. I don't know about the trivium. I don't know about Jan Irving. I know I had to follow him at the AV2 and had to wake everybody back up with some chemtrail videos. What I see is that with the age segregation, we're not, like you're saying, gaining the knowledge from the elders to give us the leadway, and then we're left with nothing. I mean, good God, rent's $1,200 a month. Who can finance that? I mean, that's ridiculous. That's it's insane what's going on. So regardless of anything else, if we could just break away from that serial programming and start. I mean, have you guys seen what's coming out? I mean, where we're sitting here now in San Diego on October 30th, they are doing a zombie apocalypse drill. And U.S. and China just had a drill off the coast of San Francisco on a serious extraterrestrial threat. Okay? And rumor mill is that all of the elite and the leaders and whatnot are all canceling their trips everywhere. The October surprise. I've October 13th, and there has been a dramatic event. And even, back when I reported on Alex Jones that 10/13 will be the next 9/11, that was the headline in U.S. in Austin, Texas. 10/13 bigger than 9/11. So, we don't need to look to the rhetoric of what the elite or the leaders or presidents are looking at, and we need to see where they're going and what the engineering of the society is leading to. Because when I'm walking down the storehouse, I'm thinking, what are they engineering this child to do? And currently on the girls' aisle, down the ways from all the princesses, is these alien hybrid dolls that they could pretend to be. And then next to them is the Monster High, which says, be yourself, be unique, be a monster. That's the trademark for this toy for your child daughter, So as long as we're watching the social engineering and watching what these guys are programming into the youth and into the next thing, and then we can kind of identify all of that and bring it out to the public, I think that's where it's at.
I have that fear, ultimately. And I don't have any children yet, but I hope to, as soon as possible, really, before they become illegal. I think that it's like every time is the worst time in the world to be a child. You know what I'm saying? Every time. It doesn't matter whether it was 50 years ago and kids had to huddle under their desk during Cold War drills and stuff like that, or whether it's now and they have to pass through metal detectors to get into class and stuff like that. It always sucks to be a kid. And then when you grow up, you think that's going to change, but it doesn't. You still sucks to be an adult because you've got all this other crap that you have to deal with and bullshit.
And you're worried about the kids now, too.
Right.
Right.
I know, and as you know, Frater, the child embeds you into the system. There's no escaping it. Like, right, I'm floating around. I live in a friggin' school bus. What does I care? I don't, But you're locked into the system. You have to participate, and that's really hard.
Totally, it is. They got you too. I mean, there's so many different angles. It's a constant battle.
Every morning for Frater, when he sees his kids leave off for school, it's like frickin' Sophie's Choice.
Oh yeah, it is, man. It's crazy. And you're just like, and my kids have gotten hurt at school. Like my daughter fell last year and got a serious cut on her shoulder, and the school didn't even call to see if she was okay. And another time she got a infection. She spent 3 days or 4 days in the hospital, overnight, and the school never even called the house to see if she was okay or was it's just weird. I just thought that was kind of strange, but the fact of the matter is that they have the subtle ways in which you just basically have to hand your children over if you're going to play the game. Luckily, we have a dialogue that began long ago, and it's my kids. It's such a bizarre arrangement because I feel like in many ways my oldest is more authoritarian than I am. I'm the rebellious teen, and he's the straight, thinking, logical. He's all about the trivium and the quadrivium. You know what I mean? He's all about science and math and all this. He's he'd make a good, cop probably. And I, for me, it's always been a serious moral dilemma to even be a parent, to be a father, because I didn't want to be a cop. I don't want to tell people what to do. I don't want to have to be the one that draws the boundary line and says, you can't cross this line. You know what I mean? You shall not pass. I'd rather be the one who goes along with you to see what happens when we go across that line and find out where it's going to take us. And, but to speak once more about the whole idea of the quadrivium and trivium, just to make it clear that I'm not trying to dismiss the idea of critical thinking. Everyone who listens to me, listens to the show, and they know that I'm all about critical thinking. I'm all about cultivating wisdom through knowledge, and it's just that what concerns me is I think that sometimes we worship the finger pointing at the moon. You know what I mean? We instead of, instead of realizing that it's not the finger pointing at the moon, it's the moon, it's the experience. And sometimes I think when we get into a rigid way of processing our experience, we lose our humanity in the process. I'm very wary of scientific observation to the extreme, the rationalist nightmare paradigm. I'm very wary of the loss of the mystic. I'm too much of a mystic, too much of a slack magician, too much of a partaker of it.
Could there be a way to bring the mystics and the logical thinkers together to create perhaps a new system that caters to both and doesn't cut out any of the things that both of them believe? I mean, can they coexist?
Well, haven't they always? I mean, isn't that really where these different lodge systems, the Rosicrucians and the Hermeticists and the occult, isn't that what they were really trying to do, bringing the rationalists and the spiritualists together, the metaphysicians? The Theosophical Society was trying to marry science and mysticism, and theology and all of it together, wouldn't you say?
It's difficult, though, because when you marry things together, they both lose their distinct individuality.
Sure, I agree. And I'm also open to being completely wrong about what I'm saying with regards to all this too. I don't need to have a certainty about this, and that's another thing that I I feel that sometimes I sense when people become rigid about their explanations and understandings of perceptual experience, I sense a need for certainty, which I wonder if it's not born out of the fear of chaos, the fear of loss, the fear of uncertainty, you know? And so, because if we need to be so certain, why do we need to be so certain? You know what I mean?
Well,
I know
see,
that we
become uncomfortable with uncertainty, and I think you do have to be comfortable and be one with it, eh, Freeman?
Sure,
That's the
that's
thing
my
that
point.
happens to when most people when they travel with me. Like I say,
Yes.
I always bring someone new with me and bring them out onto the ship, and we set off, into parts unknown, and they really panic. Like, oh my God, how are we going to survive? How are we going to keep going? What's going to happen? Where will I get my food? And you see the sense that money, the foundation that money gives people, and they, as long as they're a slave, then they can have that foundation and they don't have to have that fear of slipping away. But what would happen is I would go, no, just watch this. Watch as it all unfolds perfectly. And they're all like, you're crazy. And some of them bail, some of them stick it out. And if they can find the right mindset, they witness through me the miraculous of the synchronistic realms. And they see how everything just keeps going and keeps going. And they're like, why? Why does this work? And I'm like,
Yes.
it works. The point is, it does. But the issue is that you can't experience synchronicity until you believe in synchronicity, and you won't believe synchronicity until you experience synchronicity.
Yeah.
So you gotta just throw yourself off the cliff like the fool.
There it is. There it
You
is.
have to
I was just
abandon
thinking
your
that.
plans. You have to abandon your
it's a
plans
free
and
fall.
abandon all those things that have been built up over your life that have provided you your security. Okay, are actually the bars that are around you, holding you in that little closed, cramped cell. Okay, that's what your security is for you. It's really your own enslavement. And if you
Absolutely.
become one with feeling insecure, if you have no plan, okay, you'll be surprised just how much things just fall into place on their own. It's like, oh my
I'm in a
God,
movie
I'm not.
now. I mean, come on. I mean,
I'm not
really.
trying to stop it
I
anymore.
quit my friggin' job in 1999, said, screw all this, I'm over it, because they were capping the Great Pyramid with gold and building command central deep underground military bases for all of their, and Anubis out there with his torch in front of the pyramid and all. Like, none of this is right, I quit. And I walked away, and now I'm in a Hollywood picture. I mean, it's that you just let your path unfold. I would never be out here talking like this on, you know what I mean? If I hadn't have just wandered off.
Mm-hmm. And there was something specific that I wanted to reference on that line of thought. We just moved into a new studio. It's like $50 a week more than I can afford, and the girlfriend's is freaking out. And I say, baby, the money will come, and it did.
Yep.
Out of nowhere.
It does. It'll blow your mind when it works, and we've been conditioned to lose sight of the Shekinah, or the Holy Spirit. And this is the thing that they destroy, and they just, they contain, and we all have to give our free will agreement to allow all of this to happen. And then that's why we get all of these big shows, like the, well,
And it's by many names
right now. I mean,
It's by many names, the Shekinah, or the Valis, the Vast Active Living Intelligence System, or the Gaian Matrix, or whatever you want to call it. It's that etheric, fabric or web that connects all things together. And it's something that is discerned only through the leap of faith, the free fall that one gets when they, and the reason why, guys like Freeman and myself have been able to cultivate this sort of synchro mysticism from the road is because when you go on the road, you move completely away from the warm campfires of humanity. You move away from that lulled, false sense of security that people have inside of a box, in a Hobbiton house.
What's a trip? If I can throw this in with you,
Sure,
the trippiest thing about being a van dweller. Now, I was a van dweller. I've had probably 8 different vans, if not more, and the streets were mine. When I could get up out of my van at any time of day, and there were no people.
You know, never. I could have walked around naked if I wanted in the neighborhoods or whatever. There were no people. And that was always the strangest thing for me as a van dweller, to see the
You're absolutely right. When you
like
go
you're
into
in the
that,
zoo and everybody's at their cage.
yeah, when you go into that kind of a shift in lifestyle, you end up awake at times when everyone else is sleeping, and you end up outside when most people are indoors. And you are forced to engage in the surroundings. And so therefore, I mean, it's only logical. It would completely fit that you would experience a heightened hyper-conscious awareness that we call, slack magic or synchro mysticism, or hell, even the friendship agenda. You call it what you want. Either way, all it is it's this deep, ecological connection to life going on all around us. The flow, the current, the stream. And it
Humans
goes
have
back.
to eat, you know.
Yeah. You gotta
All
go.
humans eat, and you might not understand why I would say that, but when you bond with the rest of the humans around food or the necessities of life, warmth and these things, and you got to go and be friendly, meet somebody, and there's so much abundance, and we've been conditioned to think that this is some sort of what would you call that, like the sucking off of the people or whatever, but it's not. It's a sharing, a giving, receiving situation where they're loving the fact that they're having this company. They're sharing all of this with you. They have plenty of abundance and no one to share with. And so people have to come out of that spell as well. You have to give the gift of receiving. These people are dying to give stuff, and you got to give the gift of receiving. And that's hard for a lot of people because they think it lowers or lessens them. But, I would say go get Manly P. Hall's Adventures in Understanding. You'll be able to get it at my bookstore. And read through that. Read about the man who made it to the height of the elite by never saying a word. And, became rich and famous and, never said a word. It was, you just give the gift of receiving. You receive their stories, you receive their emotions, you receive all of theirs, and they give you all of what you need. And I think that's one of the critical steps we got to get over.
Go on.
I've seen people come at it from so many different. I remember a road kid, who would sit on the corner and ask people for smiles as they walked by. I mean, that was his thing. Can you spare a smile? Can you spare a smile? That's all he wanted from everybody.
Oh my God, I did that the other day while I was waiting for some fish and chips and burgers, bro. I was like standing out in front of the traffic on the side of the street, just going, making people smile and stuff as they drove past. It says the lighter side of genocide.
I knew it. I knew that's what you meant. It's shameless self-promotion.
No. Well, the thing is, I don't think... Well, technically, there's nothing shameful about shameless self-promotion.
That's right. Exactly. You are always one. You're like John Lennon. You're always turning words around and stuff like that, John Lennon
weird
says...
stuff is...
yes, Weird Stuff magazine. Yeah, let's talk about that.
You want it. You want it. Weird Stuff's going to be friggin' awesome, guys. I mean, this thing, it's going to outline all of that stuff, lay it out there on the table for everybody, and they're going to be looking at Lady Gaga and Blood Rituals going, what is this? And all of a sudden, people are going to know that Disney is programming, and it's from the military engineering, a Warcraft child. I think this Weird Stuff is going to be...
If you had Lady Gaga on the front cover of the magazine called Weird Stuff, I could guarantee you a hell of a lot of people who didn't know what it was really about would pick it up and start reading it, man. Or the Gaga morons.
Well, I was gonna say, it's funny how you were mentioning earlier about the little monsters, the toy aisle. And I was wondering if Lady Gaga had some sort of arrangement with that toy company, because that's what she calls all of her fans.
Yeah, her little monsters.
Yeah.
They did have one that looked very much like Lady Gaga and a little one that looked like Katy Perry. So yeah, they were definitely something along those lines.
But I think that you and Jamie have so really blazed the trail of looking at the commentary, the analysis of these, like your Princess programming analysis,
Have you seen
and
my Katy Perry video?
I haven't seen that video, but I listened to your Red Ice interview with Heinrich and Lana and you and Jamie, and that was so spot on, man. I mean, that was so, and I'm sure it was probably some of the same material, right? Because you did mention Katy Perry in that conversation. But what's the Katy Perry video for anybody else who's interested?
Oh, well, just go to freemantv.com and scroll down till you see Katy Perry E.T., the song E.T., Occult Meaning.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that video.
Well, I'm revamping Freeman TV right now. It's all going mobile, so I'm getting it really mobile set up.
Which means that folks can put their mobile apps right on their smartphones and have constant stream Freeman TV, correct?
Well, right now you can, if you go to freemantv.com on your phone, it's actually all now set up for your mobile phone, and I'm building some new buttons and stuff, and so it's all touch and type, or touch screen. It's pretty cool. I'm moving up there. Yeah, got the Freeman TV mobile. So I've been learning a lot. I think most of the back end of my job has been becoming a webmaster, and I think I'm ready to set anyone up. FreemanTV.com right now is getting so powerful. It's really exciting. I'm freaking out.
It would be cool if you could teach other people to webmaster and to go, yes, webmaster, when you give them orders and stuff like that. It'd be classic.
I'm the webmaster.
Yeah.
So Weird Stuff Magazine's Kickstarter.
Is being a webmaster almost like being a Jedi master in a way?
You better have you better have your patience in order. That's for sure. Yeah.
No, what I was saying was Weird Stuff Kickstarter. Now, the campaign is still going on right now, isn't that right, Freeman? So
yeah, we're
folks
halfway through.
Yeah, how when is that deadline? And for folks who want to go over there, they go to weirdstuffmagazine. Tell us the address.
No. I'll lay it out.
Yeah.
The easiest way is to go to freemantv.com, and it's on every page. It just says, be the first to get Freeman's new book, Weird Stuff. Or you can go directly to Kickstarter and just type in Weird Stuff, and then you'll find it there as well.
And how long is it going
for?
The
deal is Kickstarter is a funding campaign that you can put your projects on, and then people can chip in, but it's not a donation. You actually get rewards for the money.
Sounds like with those sirens in the background, sounds like you are in the projects.
Yeah, right? No, I think another house probably just went empty. Another one up for sale. Got all the old folks scuttled away in here.
Well, there's actually quite a few. They're descending on you, man. Get out! Get out!
But yeah, so we actually modeled our Kickstarter off one that was really doing well, and that is that you get all the money back. So you give $25, you get a subscription to the website and the magazine, so you're pre-ordering the magazine, you're not giving us $25. And then it goes all the way up to $1,000, which we've already had a number of backers at that level. And we're offering, great rewards like a flash drive with all the radio shows, all my DVDs. You get to meet us, hang out in the Miss Emily, all kinds of stuff like that. So you go in, you chip in, we get it. We're only $1,400 away from our goal. So, that's like 50 more people just pre-ordering the book. And we're there.
You're practically there already.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Hey, this is excellent, man. Because
totally blown away.
We were talking about this a while back, about trying to find a way to get your audience involved so that you can be funded in these projects that you're doing and not be living hand to mouth all the time. And it sounds like you're getting it done.
This is the crazy thing about where we're at now. Okay, so my life kind of opened up the door to the internet realms because I started making juggling sticks, right? And 93, I'm juggling away, and I realized I could sell juggling sticks wherever I went, right? So I traveled all over the United States, 4 coasts of summer. I'd be back, forth, whatever. I did whatever I wanted. And then now we're in this new realm where we have this internet, and we can sit here and I can broadcast to New Zealand, and we can now share the puzzle together, and in doing so, we share across the world now. And I mean, $1 from 1 million people is really, it's $1 million, right? It's really easy for everyone to support what they want to support at this time. And it's crazy how free we could be just through this kind of internet interactions. I mean, a year on the road in a school bus at this time. I mean, that's crazy, y'all.
Yeah, I was thinking the internet is the way to give us back a free market and free elections once again.
Yeah, it should be.
I got to tell you, though, guys, I listen and I agree with you all the way, but in the back of my mind, this little voice says to me, so what happens when they shut it all off and say we can't have access to it?
Well, that's when I go back to the synchromysticism. I'd be just as happy if this thing died. Believe me, in Y2K, I was praying that the thing would shut down. So I hate this and love this thing all at the same time.
Yeah.
I was just throwing it out there.
Well, actually, what would happen, Frater? I'd go into print.
There you go, buddy.
I'd go into doing live performances. I'd have a lot more time to work on my music. I would
CDs, DVDs.
Yeah,
pamphlets,
exactly.
Lectures.
It doesn't matter what they fracking do. They cannot beat us.
We'll become pamphleteers like the Revolutionary War.
I mean, the revolution ain't about to start. The revolution has already begun. And it matters not what tactic they use in order to thwart this from happening. They will fracking lose. At least that's what we have to brainwash ourselves into believing at the very least. Yeah. This is the only logical fallacy that I'm prepared to entertain, is that we will win, and there is no other option. It is either victory or death. There's only two ways of coming home, man.
Just check this. I mean, this is totally off topic. Yeah,
okay,
right.
Off topic.
Sorry. It's just bizarre how this whole story keeps unfolding, and how the levels of weirdness outside of what we're talking about, and that is the corporate realms and the world that's being projected. And so I'm sitting here I just released Science Fiction or Space Faction. It was published in Paranoia magazine. But then the editor kind of made a couple of errors, so I republished it on my website with all, the right way. And right. What I was going to say is that as I was going a little deeper and getting some artwork and stuff, I found I'd talked about two corporations in that article itself. One was Endemol, right? Endemol. And they're the ones that put out Heroes and I think Big Brother. And maybe Talpa put out Big Brother, but they've now merged with Talpa, which was the other corporation that I was talking about in my article. So I'm sitting here talking about two separate entities that I was like, well, I was joking about Endemol because they have a reptilian eye as their corporate logo, and the name of the company is Endemol, and they're putting out things like trauma-based mind control shows like Heroes, and then Talpa, who is the production company for The Voice, their corporate logo is the Tree of Life, the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, but they've taken heaven and moved it into hell or the abyss, and so their corporate logo is heaven in the abyss. Well, so as I'm getting ready to put some of the imagery up on my website for the article, I came across the article saying that they just merged, and so now they're both the same company. And Talpa is the one that puts out The Voice and some others, and it blows me away with how many fallen angels and 666 and satanic references I can point to at any moment, at any time.
So, what are they going to rename this new company? End them all and send them to the void?
Yeah.
End them all and jump in the abyss. Right. Well, I think it's Freeman. I think it's clear. I'm really of the opinion that it is because we will respond. Our attention will respond to these symbols. That's why the media is saturated with them. It'll draw our minds to it.
I can't accept that. I can't accept that because of Fox.
Now, Fox, I mean, how many production companies, how many corporations, how many things use the fox as their friggin' icon or their name? I mean, it's endless, the number of foxes. And I don't believe that that's, because it's something that's attractive to people like fox, as if that was the ultimate beast on planet Earth that every human aspires to be. But it happens to equal 666 in English gematria, No,
That's the part that I think you're supposed to respond to. We are supposed to respond to. We are. I think that's the part. I mean, it's not that Fox is.
Respond how? What do you mean then? I guess I don't understand what you mean by respond.
I think that we're supposed to pay attention. Like our attention, whether there are those of us who will pay attention overtly, like you and I, or other people who are more aware of it, will catch it quicker.
No one knows this. No one knows this.
No one knows what.
But there's also the
unless they're listening to me,
No, well, what I mean is that
I kind of wanted to jump in here, Frater, if I may.
Sure.
Like, let's take was it subliminal messaging, for instance, or whatever. You flash a naked woman in front of a guy, doesn't matter whether for how seconds, his brain automatically picks it up and puts it down through. There's no firewall.
The opposite of what we're talking about.
No, it is.
What I'm saying is, if you see the letter Fox and it means 666, and maybe
but you don't know that.
No, we don't know that, but we don't know. We didn't know that we saw the naked woman either. Yet it still has an impression.
Here's another thing, Freeman.
The mind has the capability to generate the mathematics of gematria just on its archival realms, or
I don't know. I don't know. I'm asking.
Consider this. There's some new research right now. I believe his name is Marty Leeds. He's on Red Ice right now, and he's talking about phonics and about letters and words, and how even speaking words has a vibrational frequency effect, and it actually has a geometrical a patterning that comes into consciousness on a unconscious, like on a subconscious level. So there is room for the idea of there being a patterning to it all. Now, let's back it up, though, and not blow it up so wide, and come back to the idea. This is what I meant, like when I first brought this up, was the reference in like the Stargate Conspiracy to SRI, Stanford Research Institute, and their report that they did in 1970, a government report where they said that humanity, especially like American culture as a society, their perspective was going to shift, that we were going to be open to new ideas, and we were going to be challenged to let go of old traditions and be open to new ones, and that it was important for them to develop ways to guide our consciousness. And they proposed in this report in 1970 that they use Masonic and Egyptian motif, iconography, and symbolism to do just that. So I was sort of alluding to that and thinking that maybe because Hollywood, there's a lot of cultural room to play with the speculation.
What I just saw was a Scooby-Doo episode where they were researching Nibiru and the Doomsday Planet X coming to destroy all life. They were talking about Zechariah Sitchin.
Are you kidding me?
No, they showed Inanna and Enki.
It's a new Scooby-Doo? The new Scooby-Doo. Wow. I got to check that out. I like that new Scooby-Doo. That one's pretty cool, man. The animation's very, it's visually stimulating, as they say.
Yeah.
Like a compass and square.
Exactly. It's all dark occulted mysticism.
It's all dark occulted mysticism right here.
Did you guys ever think you would live through a zombie apocalypse? Did you ever expect to see zombie on the headlines?
Oh, mate, I didn't expect to see zombie on the headlines, but I did expect to see zombies every day that I actually leave my house.
Well, I can't stop wondering, guys. I got to be honest. I was paying attention in the 90s to the whole bovine encephalitis, and, I can't help but fear there's a connection here. Because here we are a decade afterwards, and they're talking about zombies. And I'll tell you what, if you ever saw one of those cows with mad cow disease, they look like a zombie. They look like zombie cows. Those ones that are like full blown, right before they just fall over and die.
Yeah.
You know, their spongiform is eating holes in their brains, and they have like mad zombie eyes, and they got like, you know, foam coming out of their mouth, and they look like they want to eat your brain if you get too close. So I can't help but wonder. I'm telling you, it freaks me out to think the rise in like Alzheimer's, the rise in, you know, autism and Asperger's disease, and all these strange neurological disorders, and you know, it just, I don't know, man.
Well, you know, and I think those are actually they're my three favourite words for a reason. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Those three words actually make me feel comfortable.
Is that I love Lady Gaga?
Yeah, no, it's very Socratic of you, Vinny. You know,
what does syncretic mean? Because I don't know.
It means that Socrates said that, you know, wisdom was knowing what you don't know, and that's what you just said.
Oh, okay. Well, see, I didn't know that Socrates said that.
Ah. So does it mean that there's a logical fallacy in all this, or
I don't know.
What?
I think we're just
should we do the grammar on it?
We're doing a Looper thing here, like it's a Bruce Willis movie.
I'm telling you, man, we got to do the grammar on it.
Yeah.
See, what about the person that uses errored grammar, like, you know, deliberately, like Anthony Burgess in Clockwork Orange, or James Joyce? They deliberately used flawed grammar. And yet people say that they wrote these amazing treatises into those stories. I didn't know that. Like, I mean, I tried to read Finnegan's Wake and, you know, these Ulysses and stuff, and I couldn't make sense of it. I'll be honest. You know what I mean? But then I read like a commentary from a professor who read it, and he gets all this other crazy stuff out of it. You know, the whole plight of Stephen Daedalus and everything. It's all there for him, but I couldn't see it. So you see what I'm saying, though? But to me, it seemed like gibberish. Like Ulysses was like gibberish to me. But yet other people read it and find genius, you know?
Yeah, that's the same way you described Ulysses. It's the same way I described every single textbook or printout that I ever received and was told to read in university. Just convoluted gibberish. Made absolutely no sense to me. It had no practical use, no value, no referencing, no nothing. It was just a waste of my time. So I didn't read it.
I hear you. I didn't do a lot of the university homework either.
Well, I think this is a nice positive way to round off the interview. So if we...
I think so.
Yeah. We're miserable over my university days when I got drunk and saw hot girls everywhere. God, it was terrible. Okay. But yes, we've all been there. Hopefully, and if you haven't been to university yet, don't go, because you'll be in debt for the rest of your life, like us. So yeah, thank you guys for coming on with us today. Frater, if you'd fire off your websites and such, would it be nice?
middlechamberfx.wordpress.com, Saturday nights, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. 6 p.m. The Middle Chamber with Frater X on American Freedom Radio, AmericanFreedomRadio.com.
And Freeman?
FreemanTV.com. That's the only source you need for all the occult and Illuminati symbolism and Hollywood mind control and space war news.
I thought it also went well with a nice tomato sauce. But we'll talk about that later. So thank you guys very much for your time. I'm Vinny Eastwood from the VinnyEastwoodShow.com. It's Vinny with a Y, because it's the most important question. And you've been listening to the Dark Occulted Mysticism Show with Vinny Eastwood and Frater X. And we'll catch you again sometime.
Happy trails!
Catch you again sometime, ladies and gentlemen.